Hey, in this episode, we're going to be introducing some beehives, just the anatomy of a beehive. I'm gifting Hayden's daughter, Aria.
Who's not here today, she's working.
Yeah, where she's going to get into more livestock, beekeeping. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
See you soon.
Hello, welcome back to Southern Oregon and Safari.
And we're the Buffalo Roam.
I'm Jerry.
I'm Hayden.
And today we're going to be introducing you guys to basically the beehive. So let's start off with a base.
The base, cinder blocks.
Yes, first of all, you want bases. These are 8 inches, and it's a good height to keep them off the ground, to keep your beehives off the ground. In case of flooding, and gets them away from the condensation, the moisture, and allows a little bit of more of the airflow. The next piece we got is a screen bottom board, and this is your hive entrance slope, and those just rest on the blocks. Now, you know, Hayden's got a spot, he's got selected that he's going to be setting the hives up and helping his daughter set the hives up. So what the screen does is it allows for ventilation through, especially in the summer months. The bees need that ventilation to control the temperature of the brood chamber, the baby bees, and it also keeps condensation from building up in there in the winter months. I want to show a feature down here. See these slots right here? These slots allow for a board that is thinner than these slots to be slid in there for winter protection. In some environments, you'll need some winter protection for your hives. In the southern United States, not necessarily so, because they're a warmer climate. Minnesota, Michigan, the north central United States.
Sub-zero temperatures.
Frigid. So they wrap up their hives, they protect their bees.
Yeah.
Now, some bees are acclimated to the north. Mm-hmm. They've got different kinds of bees. They got Mediterranean bees. They got bees from Italy area, Anatolian. They've got Russian black bees. And now they've got what they call a Saskatchewan bee that they bred from Saskatchewan, Canada, mm-hmm. that are
and that's
cold hardy.
That's wicked
bee.
Cold.
Yeah, so the bees, those Saskatchewan bees, it goes bzzz, I had some, they're okay. You can get some through a bee supplier down in California. I go to a bee festival every year. And you can buy packages of bees. We'll talk about that in another episode. But this box I got right here, this is a standard depth box, and it holds 10 frames.
It's almost an apple box if you're in the film industry.
Apple box, yeah. So what this is called a deep. It's also called a brood chamber. It's full of 10 frames. Now, the style of beehive that we're introducing here is a Langstroth hive. In 1851, the Reverend Lorenzo L. Langstroth invented the hive, the Langstroth hive, that's where the Langstroth name comes from. He is considered the father of the modern beekeeping, and not much has changed with these hives. You noted that I said earlier this has 10 frames. Well, these hives, though there's other styles of hives, there's the top frame hive, there's different styles hive, there's the basket hive.
Yeah.
But this is the most popular worldwide. This is what they use worldwide mostly. So though this is a 10 frame hive, these Langstroth hives do come in a variety of different sizes. For a 3 frame hive, which is called a nucleus, it's an introductory hive to your new beekeeping. And there's a 5 frame hive, the 5 frame deep, which is what this is called, the box is the deep, or a brood chamber. And then there's a 8 frame. I have an 8 frame, and then there's a 10 frame. I like the 10 frames. They're nice to handle. And this is what the frame is. It's just a wood frame. And we'll introduce frames and the different styles of frames and foundation in another episode. And then right over the top of this, once you get a colony going, you add another deep. Now this is not a brood chamber, this is the food chamber. Bees by nature store their food above the brood. So they'll go out and they'll collect pollen, sap, and nectar, and they create a variety of different products for humans to use.
Like the wax and all that.
Yes, and we'll cover all the products that a bee makes for human consumption. There's like 8 different products that they produce that we use.
I didn't even know that.
So we'll cover that. So we've got the brood chamber, the honey deep. In the springtime when nectar is flowing really good, that's when you want to add a honey super. Now to keep the queen is the largest gal in there. You know, talk about fat bottom ladies.
I was married to her once.
She has the big bottom. You need a, what they call a queen excluder. This has a space in there where the worker bees can get in and out, but a queen cannot. So this prevents the queen from getting any farther up in the hive.
So she can basically get her whole body through until she hits her rear end, and then
she can't get up there.
Stuck.
Because you want to exclude her from getting into the honey super, from laying eggs in your honey.
Yeah.
You don't want her in the honey, and that's why this.
What's that called again?
Yeah, that is called a queen excluder.
Excluder, that's what I thought, yeah. The
Queen
excluder.
excluder.
Yeah. Okay.
Now this right here, you notice the difference in size.
Yeah, much shorter.
This is a honey super. It's a shallow chamber. And the reason why it's so small is because when you get this loaded down with honey, it's heavy. It's really heavy. I personally like to handle frame by frame. I just go out and collect the frames that are filled with honey, and I take them out and I harvest the honey from them, and I put empty frames in, and I manipulate the frames around so I'm not taking the whole thing. And then I just keep moving things around, and then that's how I harvest my honey. Different beekeepers have different methods.
Yeah.
Okay, this is called an inner cover. And this particular inner cover I'm giving them has a particular extra special feature on it. This actually you could use when you're getting rid of your bees to get them out of the honey super. Is you hold that. You could take your honey super off and just set that down just like that.
Set it on top.
Just set it down on top and set this over the top, and then you put your lid over it, and then there's a couple of different methods you could do. You could smoke the hell out of this and get the bees to go down and get away from the smoke. There's also a Bee Gone spray that smells terrible and the bees can't stand it, so you put it on a cloth, or you can spray it on a board called a fume board. I have one, and I'll introduce that to another show. But it drives the bees out of the honey super, and some beekeepers can, once the bees leave, they can take an empty, beeless, loaded honey super and take it and harvest the honey. Now what happens with this is a gate, and there's little wires down in there. You see those little wires down there? It allows the bees to go out, but not in.
Back in, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what that is.
That's a handy little thing.
It is. So with the honey super on there, another part of the anatomy is you put your inner cover on, and you don't need this until later.
Gotcha. You got some ants.
And this is nice because this has a lip on it.
Yeah.
And if you look right here, it's got a little bit of a lip. So in the winter time, you could just lay what I call a dry vert sugar in there. It's a dried, almost a powdered sugar. And the bees can use that through the winter as food because it's not wise to feed a bee moist food through the winter months, because the one thing you want to prevent from happening is moisture, which causes mildew in the hive. We're not done yet. Now we have a telescoping cover or an outer cover. It's got two names: telescoping cover or an outer cover. It's got a weatherproof shield over it. It overhangs.
Keeps the moisture out.
It keeps the moisture out. That slides down right over the top of everything. Now there's a little feature on here. Some of them you can notch the inner cover and allow a top entrance into your hive to give the bees a little bit more access upstairs. But in the winter months, you will not have your honey super on here. You'll just have, let me show you the configuration of a winter hive setup. Okay, this is a winter hive setup. That goes on.
Do we want? We don't want this right now.
No. And this goes on, and then that will be your winter hive setup. Just like that, just the two deeps. You got your brood chamber and your food chamber. Now, a beekeeper never takes any honey from here. They need to keep their bees fed throughout the winter so they can survive the winter.
Now, this thing doesn't need anything to keep it together then? It doesn't, the wind won't blow it over and like that? I mean, do you put weight on top of it?
Yeah.
You strap it down with straps? What do you normally do?
Well, you can turn the cement blocks on their sides to where the holes run through, and you can take a tie-down strap and strap it down, and that way the wind won't blow it off. If you're in a wind-prone area.
Yeah, well, I'm just worried about, like, let's say an animal comes and bumps it.
Like a bear or something like that. Yes, so strap it down into, you've seen my apiary, my beehives.
Yep.
There's a couple of points about my beehives I wanted to share with you, is that I'm able to strap them down. The things are cemented into the ground. A bear cannot knock it over.
Gotcha.
And because I walked out one morning and I found one hive completely down and spread apart. It's like, oh no,
what a bummer.
It was horrible.
That is horrible.
But my another thing about setting up beehives is your colony. You want them. I prefer higher off the ground. I have mine about this high off the ground.
Knee high, a little over knee, almost waist high.
Well, yeah, and there's a couple of reasons. Number one main reason is a skunk will destroy a hive.
Yes, I know that.
A skunk will come in here and go tap on the entrance with this little claw, and the soldier bees will come out and they'll kind of think what's going on, and that skunk will go in there and eat bee by bee by bee. So pretty soon you've got a whole hive decimated. Mice will get in there and destroy your hive. There's a couple more things to show you. This is a hive entrance reducer. And it's got two different size holes. You got a summer entrance, which is a wide entrance for the bees to be able to go in and out in mass, and it allows for better flow of air.
And then a winter
Then you got the winter one, and mice will go in and try to find a nice warm place. This will keep mice from squeezing in, and that's what just fits right in there.
Yeah, look at that.
And the bees are able to come and go
The mice can't.
in there, and the mice can't get in. But you have a couple of other culprits that will go in, and that is wax moths, and they eat the wax. They lay their little eggs in there.
And how do you identify the wax moths? You just obviously see them?
You can see they leave a web.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a spider web, but they leave a web.
So when you start seeing that web, you know you got a problem.
And we'll explain the different I'll explain the different pests that afflict a beehive in another show, and share with you my treatment for those pests and how I clean the hives. I have a unique way of cleaning my hives, and my preferences and frames. There's different types of frames you can purchase, and different kinds of foundations that you can purchase with your frames or for your frames.
Gotcha.
So that's why I don't like the hive so low. Even if you have 2 pallets high and lay your beehives on two pallets stacked, that's high enough for off the ground. You don't need cinder blocks. Just get them off the ground.
Gotcha.
Pretty low.
I like the pallets because then it's easier probably to move them. I could probably put, now, is it okay, I imagine it's okay to keep the hives, what are they usually, I think 6 inches, isn't that the closest you want them together? You don't really keep them touching, right?
No, you've seen my hive stand, I keep them about this far apart. So I can actually, they're wide enough where I can actually take the top hive and set it between there while I'm working my hive.
Gotcha. So and you don't have any conflicts with the two different colonies at all? There's no conflicts with the colonies?
There is something that you want to do if you have multiple hives, is get a decal or something to put it on the front.
So you don't
near
mix
the
up?
entrance, so the bees can identify the front.
Oh.
And one thing you don't want to panic about, as I did one day.
Should I say like colony A on one with a sticker with an arrow pointing and colony B on the other?
Yes, you can do it.
They can read.
And you can do a B.
So they can
it's
read.
just the shape. So they imprint on that shape. Now, another thing with bees is It's cold right now. You got a coat on.
Yeah,
I'm cold.
I'm cold and I'm wearing a jacket, so I mean it's a blustery Southern Oregon day. I'm kind of feeling bad for you. It's kind of chilly out here.
I'm not. Yeah, I'd say I'm cool. I'm cool.
You're cool.
Yeah, literally, I'm cool.
If you're a bee right now, you wouldn't be enjoying it.
I would not be enjoying it. And this is something, when the weather gets cold and wet and rainy, the bees stay in the hive. Then their job is to keep that brood warm, so the cluster in the middle of the hive, and keep that queen warm. Don't panic, because when the sun comes out, you're going to notice all your bees on the front of your hives and swarming around. What they're doing is they're doing what they call a cleansing flight. I was cleaning the bunny cages one day, and it's right next to my apiary, and I heard the noise and I panicked, and I stood out there, went and grabbed my camera. I got video of it. I'll show it right here on the B-roll. But what I was panicking, and I started thinking about, it's like, wait a minute. 3 days of rain, cold, sun's out, it's 65 degrees, they're coming out.
They're happy.
Oh, they're pooping.
Oh, is that what they're doing?
They don't defile their inside of their home. They wait until it's nice, then they go out and they're on their cleansing flight, is what they call it.
Little colon cleansing. Well, you take the bee wax, isn't that what they use for colon cleansing?
I don't know.
Yeah, they use what do they call it?
There's royal jelly.
Royal jelly, yeah. They take that to cleanse the old,
Yeah, that's one of the 8 different products that the bees produce for us.
It's very nice of them.
Yes. So there's the anatomy of a bee hive setup. A stand, a screen bottom board, a entrance reducer, a brood chamber or deep, a food chamber or deep, a honey super, inner cover, telescoping cover, and don't forget your queen excluder.
Yeah, the extruder, that's
Something else I want to give you. In the spring and summer, you can remove the hive reducer, the entrance reducer, and this is a honeybee feeder. It's just a mason jar. You mix 50% water, 50% sugar, or you can do 25% water, 75% sugar. It depends on the season on how thick you want to make it.
So imagine if it's hotter, you want it to be thicker, so it doesn't run right out the bottom.
So this has little tiny holes in the lid, and that's enough for the bees to get their little proboscis or tongue up in there and just drink that. A whole
basically making nectar, basically.
Yeah, a whole colony will drink this dry. A good solid. If this was full, I would have to fill this every other day.
And are you just using regular processed table sugar?
Yep.
And that's okay health-wise? It's not
pure cane sugar.
There's not
pure cane sugar. There's C&H sugar is what I use. There's a honeybee healthy solution that you can buy from Dadent. And that is essential oils you put in there for bee health also. It's essential oils and stuff. So this just fits right down into the hive entrance.
Good.
Yeah, it just fits right down to the
there,
hive
and they can
entrance.
just come and just eat.
And you just feed your bees right like that.
I love it.
When you're ready.
And this is also the way for them to get a little moisture to rehydrate, right?
Rehydrate, but only you do this during the spring and summer months, never during the winter or fall months.
Yep. Okay. So, and then is there any as far as like if you're trying to make a really ultra healthy honey that is completely organic, 100%? Obviously, processed sugar is not the best thing. Is there a better type of
the honey, when you're feeding them the syrup, when you're feeding syrup, that's not when you're drawing honey.
Gotcha.
When you're drawing honey,
they're getting it, if they're pollinating.
You're waiting for the honey flow. For our area is when the blackberries bloom, is when the peak of the honey flow is.
Gotcha.
Or the nectar flow, and that's when the bees are going to go out. You don't want to feed them during that time. Get rid of all the feed.
Gotcha.
They're going to go out and get their own food.
Harvest it themselves.
They're going to be collecting sap.
Yep.
They're going to be collecting nectar, and they're going to be collecting pollen. And then they'll bring it back here. And that's when you want to take the food away, put your honey super on, and let them fill it up with all the natural nectar that grows in the environment.
So you're not really getting the sugar, the processed sugar in your
No. That's for them, not you. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you don't get the sugar.
Well, I was sure thinking if you're making a really organic beehive, I was just thinking I wouldn't want to feed processed sugar because we know that processed sugar is not really that healthy.
Well, there is another feed that they have for bees, and that is a fondant. And there's recipes online that you can make a fondant, and it goes. You just lift this up and it just goes right on here.
Oh, right on here.
Yeah, they'll come right up through that little hole.
And they'll get their fondant.
They'll chew on that fondant, take it down, and feed it to the queen, and then the...
Sounds like you're just bringing sounds like you're bringing them a cake with fondant, whatever you want to call it.
And pollen, there is a pollen patties you can buy that are made, or you can get the recipe and make your own pollen patties. Pollen is their protein, and honey is their carbohydrate.
Gotcha.
And then, like I said, when they harvest sap, the sap is what they seal and makes that sticky stuff in the hive that glues the frames down and stuff.
Gotcha.
That is called propolis. So, you got a gift. There's times two. There's a whole other set in the truck that they're
These are great, exciting. I've always wanted to get into beekeeping. I unfortunately have never had the time for it. I'm hoping my daughter will take to it and we get something we can do together. I have handled some bees, mostly for motion picture and commercial. I did a couple music videos with bees, and so we just basically the queen, put it in a little cage, and then got a swarm going. So, but they were always I used them from a professional beekeeper, and I would go pick the bees up and then bring them back to when I was done. But I've never actually dealt with all the ins and outs of actually keeping the bees and harvesting the honey. So really looking forward to it.
Well, in the spring, you'll be gifted with 2 packages of bees.
I love it.
Package or nukes. And we'll discuss that in another video on the difference between a package and a nuke and a colony.
And a colony, okay.
So
and then somebody I was speaking with who's a beekeeper was saying we should catch them wild. Do you ever catch your bees wild?
Yes. Yes.
Now, do you do that wild? Do you do that buck naked when you catch them wild, or do you do that clothed?
I never approach my hive
buck naked.
Especially
with honey all stuck to you?
And never eat a banana before you go into your beehives.
Ah, so this is like when you get on a fishing vessel. Don't bring a banana on a fishing vessel. Learn that one. You really piss the captain off. Don't try it.
Yeah, you'll piss the bees off too.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
They don't like you eating bananas.
The banana has an odor that's the same as a pheromone.
Yeah.
That they release, that it's war.
Interesting.
There's danger, attack.
We don't want bananas then.
Don't smell of bananas.
Yeah, and I was watching a show once, they were saying that, people get excited. The reason they get stung is they usually get excited and they release more pheromones. And so one of the things they were showing somebody doing is breathing through a hose. And when they would get excited, the bees would attack the end of the hose where their breath was coming out.
Oh.
It was kind of interesting.
I kind of heard about that
it was really
a long
cool.
time ago, but I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, so when you get excited and you get stung by a bee, or you're just automatically scared of bees and you start swatting, and you're obviously releasing different pheromones from being nervous, so that's coming out of your breath, and the bees sense that, and that's why you get stung a lot around the mouth and the face. And if you're allergic, you got a big problem.
I carry 2 EpiPens.
Oh, are you allergic?
I keep EpiPens around my apiary.
Is that, but yours is for other people or for yourself?
For myself also.
So you're allergic to bee stings? Oh, I was going to say.
I'm allergic to other things, but in case somebody is allergic and they get on my farm and they have a reaction, I have the antidote handy to get them medical attention.
I was going to say, whoever thought that somebody that was allergic to bees would be a beekeeper?
No, I'm not allergic to bees.
That's like somebody starting a cat house when they're allergic to cats.
I did get stung. I had a cup of coffee and I was working on my truck and I had a cup of coffee and a wasp got down and was drinking my coffee. I went not looking in my cup. I hit the cup and it bit me on this lip and it went over here and bit me on that lip, and I got pictures. It swelled up big time.
I've got a really interesting story. This happened a couple of years ago. In fact, it happened right where we're standing right now. I was working on this red barn. And I was sitting here and I set my drink down, and I know better, but it was a fruit drink, and I set the can down while I was working on the barn, and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. I grabbed my drink, I took a swallow, and it was a yellow jacket in there, and it stung me all the way down my throat, way down.
Oh,
and you want to talk about the most excruciating pain. I can't even describe how bad that was, and it lasted for months. It took me about 5 or 6 months for all my normal swallowing to come back. I couldn't swallow normal. I mean, swallowing food was a chore.
Oh, next time this happens.
And I'm not allergic at all, but
Yeah.
it definitely bit me. It stung me multiple times going down my throat.
I got.
And what a horrible pain that was. That was just the worst ever. So now I don't set my drinks down. If I do, I look inside of it before I take a swig.
I ran in and started taking pictures of my face as it swelled up.
Time lapse.
I'm a guy of science. I live science, but it's just like watch the swelling swell up, and then it just drops down. I literally had to go to work. I worked in the hospital, bedside care nursing. I had to wear a mask. And this is before
frighten
COVID.
your patients. Your patients are petrified.
And
oh
the doctor asked me, "Oh, do you got a cold?" I go, I pulled my mask down, and the doctor goes, "Ah!"
No, my wife punched me for talking back.
No, and next time it gets you down your esophagus, I have an endoscope. We can go take pictures.
You know what? As much pain as I was in, I don't think I'd have let you stick anything down there. I was miserable.
Actually, I have the endoscope to do beehive inspections.
Now that would be fun.
I stick it into the entrance, and it's got like a periscope.
Yeah.
And I can go in and I can look.
Does that just work off your cell phone?
Live feed and look at my colony without breaking the hive open and invading their privacy.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's why I bought it.
It'd be almost nice to do a time lapse of that, you know, of just the bees doing what they do every day.
Well, Hayden.
Awesome, Jerry.
My gift to you. Pleasure to do this.
I'm very excited to get started. I know my daughter's super excited about it, and we're going to make this a nice father-daughter project. This is going to be a lot of fun.
My motto is save the bees, save the world. That's why I want to do this.
Yes. Well, you know what? People don't realize how important these bees really are to our you know, to everything. I mean, they're so important.
No bees, no food.
Exactly. So save the bees, folks. Save the animals
bees,
and save the bees.
world.
Yep. It's all about conservation.
I'm your host, Jerry Hansen.
I'm Hayden.
And this is Southern Oregon Safari.
Where the buffalo roam.
Stay tuned to more episodes. We've got plenty more coming, plenty of content coming. And we got a couple of specials coming your way too. I'm working on them.
Well, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps our algorithm.
Yes, please do. We'll see you guys in our next adventure. Bye-bye now.
Take care.
So let's start off with a base.
Okay. Base it is. You need help with those, Jerry?
No.
All right, Jerry's handling the base.
And a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 2.
The base, cinder blocks.
Yes, first of all, you want... The next piece we got is a screen bottom board.